Okay, this is Dylan Clavio. I'm doing the code review for my CS320 project that I completed it was one of the first courses I took when I enrolled at SNU. This is the project that I've chosen to enhance for my CS499 project. I'm going to enhance it for all three sections, all three artifacts. I chose this project because I think it has a lot of potential. I also think that it's very extremely bad. It was designed for showing proficiency in JUnit testing. And at the time, I wasn't familiar with JUnit testing frameworks, and I honestly didn't even have much experience with the Java programming language. If you look over to the left, you can see that the structure of this project, is completely wrong. It doesn't look like a typical Maven Java project at all. And that's normal for a JUnit testing project. If you're just doing JUnit, the whole point of JUnit is to avoid making this huge program and instead focusing on testing these individual parts. So you can see I have this appointment service, contact service, and task service. So each of these are pretty much just filled with logic that I then ran tests on. And as you can see, there's a lot of red because downloading this project directly off of my GitHub the way it was, it simply just is not set up to work at all. I am going to have to rearrange the directories. I think that'll be the first improvement that I'm going to have to make for this project, is just simply getting it to function. Let's just quickly break down what's happening here. So I have this appointment.java. So you can see there are Java is an object-oriented programming language, so you can see there are three attributes within this appointment object. So these attributes are appointment ID, appointment date, and description. So the point of this project is essentially a business theoretically could take this program and use it to maybe stay on track of customers and appointments and stuff like that. So you can see within the constructor, there are these validation checks that it goes through. So if we look at this first file right here, appointment.java, we can see that it creates this appointment object, and then this appointment object that includes the appointment ID, the appointment date, and the description. It makes sure the appointment ID is a certain length and that it comes after the current date, so that's not in the past. It also makes sure the description is below 50 characters. And then there's this instant variable assignment. And then it goes down to the getter methods, which then return the appointment ID, date, and description. It then moves down to this service layer, which has this public class add appointment, delete appointment, and get appointment. And then it has this public class appointment service, which has add appointment, delete appointment, and get appointment. So this will just be managing the appointment object. And so add appointment simply will check if the appointment ID already exists. Okay, and then we can move on to the appointment service test.java. So this is the actual JUnit 5 test suite, which is for verifying the functionality of the appointment service class. It includes multiple test cases to ensure that appointments are added, retrieved, deleted all correctly, while I guess enforcing business rules. So all of these tests have different approaches to avoid mistakes entering the system. So for instance, if you just look at this one right here, add appointment, duplicate appointment, it will just compare the appointment that the user is trying to add, and if it finds a duplicate, it will throw an illegal argument exception. And then we can look at delete appointment, same thing. It's essentially just making sure that an appointment was successfully deleted, and it returns a null after deletion. And yeah, just confirms that the appointment no longer exists. It's the very bottom one. If you try to delete something that doesn't exist, it'll throw another illegal argument exception. Okay, so we'll look at appointment test.java. And this is another set of the same thing, just JUnit 5 test suite for verifying the functionality of appointment. So the folder is set up in a weird way. So we have appointment.java being tested by appointment test.java and appointment service.java being tested by appointment service test.java in the same folder. But this is doing the same thing that the other one was doing. If you want to create an appointment, you have to test to make sure it is a valid appointment, check all the rules, test the ID, test the date, the description, making sure it's following all the rules. If we go to contact service, then we'll have the same thing going on with contact information. So now it creates this contact object that has its own rules. And so this contact is supposed to represent, a person, their information. If somebody books an appointment, then you can store their information, such as their, you can save it as a contact ID, but it will contain their name, their first name, their last name, their phone number, their address. And so this becomes a little bit more clear as to why the JUnit testing is more important. The ID, that's sort of an arbitrary thing that the business can set, but something like a phone number, I think, is a great example. A phone number is only going to have so many digits. If somebody enters their phone number incorrectly or something, then that can really mess up the process of just working with people and setting up appointments. So that's what this is all about here. It's making sure that we are entering the right amount of characters and are properly saving this phone number, all this information of the user, or I guess in this case the customer. And so you can see the organization is pretty much the same thing as appointment.java. Okay, and then it has the same contact service.java, just like appointment had appointment service.java. And so this will just be managing the contacts by providing different functionalities like adding, deleting, updating, retrieving contacts. It actually uses a hash map as the underlying data structure. So you can see right here, it will let you add a contact, delete. You can update first name, last name, update their phone, update their address, get contact, all right here in contact service.java. And then next we have the JUnit 5 testing for service test and the contact test. Testing the adding of the contact, duplicates, making sure you can delete the contact, making sure you can delete the contact. And then testing the actual functionality of being able to update the names, the phone number, the address, And then here in contact test, you can see this sort of fake John Doe test of the contact creation. So you can see it has the ID number, the person's name, their phone number, and their address. And then there's test after test. Just to make sure that the software works, it's secure, and it is reliable. And we actually have another folder right here, task.java. So appointment makes sense. It's, if someone is making an appointment, we have to know when that is. We have to have their contact information. The task.java is focused on the task object. I'm not totally sure, I think, what task.java is going to be used for. Again, this is a highly theoretical sort of program. So, you could consider it to be just things that need to be done for the business, maybe what needs to be done with these appointments and stuff. But each task has its own description. And again, there is a task service.java where you can add a task, delete a task, update the description, get task, and then it also goes through all of this JUnit 5 testing, completely automated, where you can add a task, delete a task, update its name, update its description, test its creation, validation, name validation, description validation. So yeah, it's a very basic program, kind of repetitive, and it's not really connected to anything. Like there's no database in here. There's no user interface, and it's very clearly poorly engineered. So I went ahead and just did some quick reorganizing of this program just to try to make it functional so I could actually see what this is supposed to do. So I've made this a proper Maven Java project. It now has a pom.xml, which I don't think the other one had. It has this main directory where everything is a bit more organized. It's still a little weird. We have the test class in the same folder, which isn't typically how it would be organized. These also wouldn't usually be capitalized, but I sort of just threw this together so I could see how this functions. You can see I've already run it, but essentially we just run these tests, and then it will go through all of these tests. Okay, there we go. 28 out of 28 tests completed. So it went through the appointments, the contacts, and the tasks. I also took the extra step of employing Jacoco, which provides a file. Okay, so if I go into the folder, I can see that it made a index, which I can open up, and there you can see a summary of pretty much it's called the code coverage of each of these objects, essentially. So we have the task, the contact, and the appointment right here. You can see appointment was 100% coverage, and yeah, it just gives you a score. And so this just represents how much of the Java code is exercised by the tests. And code coverage is just the percentage of executed instructions. You can see it says missed instructions. That's just referring to the number of Java bytecode instructions not executed by tests. And then we have missed branches, which is just the number of if-else conditions or loops that were not tested. So essentially, by adding more and more tests, we would have better code coverage and we would achieve a higher score here. So this is a project that's really important for anybody that just wants to get into automation and testing, making sure that code is, that code is safe and going to function well. And it was a really useful and fun project to work on in CS320. But this is sort of beside the point now. I figured I can use this project for CS499 because I think it creates a good base of functionality that I could transform into a completely different project, because it just is missing so much. Currently, the project is storing data in its memory via the use of hash maps, meaning all the contacts, tasks, and appointments are going to disappear when the application stops running. So a database realistically is something that you're going to need if any company were to actually adopt this program. Because a MySQL database will make the data persistent. This will improve the functionality and the scalability of the program. It also would enable multi-user access and just better scalability, which again makes sense if a company were to adopt this. A database would also use foreign keys and just create better. It would create relationships between the different tables of information. But anyways, overall, there's not a lot of functionality within this code. It has different loops and stuff, but it has no way of actually being a useful program. It only exists in a way to just test JUnit testing.